As you all know, Sonic.EXE Cursed Realities has been playable for around 2 weeks. And with a playtest, I've played it a whole bunch and it's been a pretty fun and honestly amazing experience. But now, the playtest is finally over. In today's video, we're going to be talking about every single feature that the game had and what made it really stand out from other ones, what the future of this game is going to look like, such as characters, or when the game's actually going to release, and finally, how does it hold up compared to other EXE survival games, like TD or Outcome Memories. Before we begin, I want to say make sure to like and subscribe so you can get more content like this. But anyways, let's start off with what made this game good. Inside of the game, we had 7 playable characters, 1 EXE and 6 survivors. The EXE was Mystic Crimson or Sonic.EXE. But for the survivors, we had Knuckles, Tails, Sonic, Cream, Mecha Sonic Scrapped Mark III, and Tails Doll. That's a pretty wide cast of characters, since we have normal ones you see in every EXE game, such as Tails or Knuckles, but having someone like Mecha Mark II is pretty crazy. Especially for a part where, if you just heard me, that's right, Tails Doll is actually a survivor, not an EXE. Unlike, I'm pretty sure, every other EXE game on Roblox, Tails Doll is actually the survivor sniper instead of being the EXE that does traps or whatever else. And that really leads us into movesets. Because as you know, Knuckles makes sense that he has a punch, he has a charge punch, yada yada, a block. We have people like Scrap Mecha Sonic Mark III where he has a dash, kind of like Metal Sonic, then he has a machine gun. Cream has her normal healing abilities. Sonic, you know, speed, spin dash, yada yada. But for Tails and Tails Doll, it's a little different. Tails Doll is actually the sniper role, not Tails. Tails Doll has an ability, which is a long-range sniper shot. It has a slowing beam and an area heal / damage resistance, kind of like Vector inside of TD Eclipsed. Tails, instead of having an arm cannon like OM or TD, instead has a wibbly wobbly arm thing where basically it's able to grab survivors from across the map, and not only has a glide, but if you glide on the ground, has a giant speed boost. This means instead of being the sniper class, he's actually a mid-range support that can bring people to him, which can save many survivors depending on the situation. Then we have Mystic Crimson, which in my opinion is pretty weak EXE. You got Spin Dash, you got the Fly, you got the Right Now Here I Come. You know, pretty normal for an EXE, but overall, with the survivor differences and changes, it makes this game, Cursed Realities, feel like it's its own thing, its own idea, and its own genre, for a fact that we don't follow the normal templates. I mean, making Tails actually have a different type of weapon other than an arm cannon is pretty cool, since most games kind of just choose for him to have an arm cannon because he already has. But not only that makes the game great, there's also the maps. Inside the playtest, we had 3 maps, known as Hills, Hill Gym, and Hide and Seek Act 1. What's interesting with all of these maps, instead of just being maps, is each one comes with its own set of conditions and basically giant gameplay changes. On Hill Gym, there's these little boxes around the map where if you hit it as a survivor, there's a chance that it gives you a speed boost or a speed nerf, halving or doubling your speed. Then for a map on Hills, instead of the water filling up during the last 80 seconds, it actually fills up a lot earlier, so it kind of acts as 2 maps. One in the beginning, where it's the below area, where you're able to run around, escape the EXE, and the second one being up in the higher areas, where there's a lot less space, and a higher risk of drowning, since in this game, you can drown really fast. But by far, probably the coolest map condition is Hide and Seek Act 1, where on this map, during the last 80 seconds of escape, a giant fire tornado comes out of nowhere and damages everyone who's near it, doing 5 damage a second. Now this really brings map conditions up to 100 compared to other EXE games, since they're really giant threats or pretty game-changing things that don't just happen for a little bit of a time or nothing happens at all. And of course, there's many changes that can happen to movesets, characters, especially since this is a playtest. If you don't know what playtest is, it's imagine having a large group of testers. Instead of having a normal tiny group that works on it with you during the progress and the process of it, a giant playtest allows you to have thousands of people attempting the game to show if there's any bugs, changes, or improvements that need to be made. For example, if over 100 people say that Sonic is too busted, that's probably a good idea to see if you can rework him in any way. But speaking of a playtest and how it's closed now, what is the future of this game going to look like? Well, for the future of Cursed Realities, it's actually pretty interesting. Right now, they are currently on a hiatus or a mini break since we just finished the playtest, but will continue development pretty soon. As stated, they are going to be releasing the game sometime this year and a second playtest. When this playtest is going to happen, we don't know, but assuming that's April right now, I would say probably June to July-ish is when it's going to come out. And when the game is actually going to release, I would say September to October. This might sound like a long way, but overall, for how slow many asim games are when we come to updating, this is actually pretty good. But you also may be wondering, why is it going to take that long? We already have a lot of maps and characters, but let me explain. For the game's full release, there's actually 6 more characters we know they're going to be adding, and 1 more EXE as of now. This EXE is known as Rewrite. That's right, the first EXE game that isn't cancelled to have Rewrite inside of it as one of the main EXEs. But then for the survivors, we have a pretty large cast, and the 6 new ones coming are Charmy Bee, Vector, Espio, Amy, Eggman, and Metal Sonic. Of course, there could be more of them, but as of right now, those are the ones that currently have renders and we know that will be showing up inside of the game. So for a release of a game like this, that is a really large cast of characters, all probably going to have their own special abilities, movesets, and since this game does take inspiration from the Disaster, maybe a little bit of a Disaster Eclipse, and from Outcome Memories, it's going to be really cool to see how they implement these characters. What are you willing to bet that Sally's going to have shields inside of this game? Before the future of this game, it is moving pretty well paced, especially since the models in the game are pretty thought out. Some people say they're a little bad, but honestly I like the design of it, and it looks really smooth for what they've done for a first playtest. I mean, there's no game-breaking bugs like tails flying into oblivion like Disaster Eclipsed, or Outcome Memories level balancing, so overall, it's pretty good so far. But of all those good things, I have to say, how does it hold up to other games in the genre? We mainly have 3 games that we're going to be comparing this to, mostly TD, TDE, and of course Outcome Memories. Now, will it be as big as these games? Maybe. Right now, the Discord only has around, I want to say, 10,000 members, which is pretty small compared to when OM released with almost 200,000 members. But since the playtest did honestly average 1,000 players, and it was only a playtest, there's a chance that this game does become pretty big. But I mean, for a fact that it was the 3rd biggest EXE game on Roblox behind Eclipse and Outcome Memories at the time, is pretty big. And since many other games like TD Re-Execution and some of the other ones aren't really coming out for some time, or even are still in development, this is probably going to take the spotlight when it comes out. How it holds up as a game for its own, I do believe is better than Outcome Memories when it comes to play design, because honestly, I feel like the movesets are better, but I don't believe it's better than TD in overall aesthetics. What I mean by that is TD is just so fundamentally perfect and everyone's really balanced. Unless if you're a perfect balancer, you can't really get to that high of quality. But with that, I want you to comment down below what you thought of Cursed Realities Sonic.EXE. Did you think the game was good? Was it alright? Or did you even play it when it came out or even know about it? Overall, it was a pretty fun experience while I was playing it, and it was honestly really fun. Good job, guys. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all liked and enjoyed. If I don't catch you in game, then I'll catch you next video. Later.